Hi, this is Rodrigo from Frame Freak Studio, and this is the Creative Hustler Show. Today, our guest is Kristen Sanzari. She studied as a visual developer and started doing graphic design. She did a couple of work with that, and eventually she turned out to into toy design. Right now, she's designing toys for Mattel in the Jurassic World line, but she has also created toys for Disney, Nickelodeon, Dreamworks, and many other companies. So I think it's an amazing experience because I have seen many artists doing this, jumping into toy design, but we hadn't had yet this opportunity to explore those careers. So welcome, Kristen.
Thank you so much. That's fun. Thank you for having me.
So first of all, for the people who don't know about you, can you tell us a little bit about your story and how did you went like going from visual developer to toy designer?
Okay, yeah. So I guess I kind of always knew I wanted to do art. I always drew when I was a kid. And when I was little, I always would say I loved animated films. I watched all the animated films, loved Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, all of them. And I kind of always said when I was little, I wanted to be a Disney animator. As I got older, I kind of learned a little bit more about what all those jobs were. And in school, I still didn't know exactly what I wanted to do in college. I knew I wanted to draw, but I was also a runner at the time, and I wanted to run at a D1 college. And I was like, okay, well, most art schools don't have sports teams. So I kind of was looking at like big 4-year colleges. And at the time, I was kind of like, well, I heard from a lot of people graphic design was kind of the route to go if you wanted to make money or do well in the art field. And so my sister went to Cal Poly, and they had a good running program as well as an art and design program. So when I heard that, I was pretty excited about that. So I went and checked out their art department. They had a graphic design program, and I basically decided that's where I wanted to go. I was able to run track and do graphic design. I also worked as a graphic designer for a few years through school for the athletic department. So I'd made all the big posters and schedule cards, any giant banners, all that for the athletic teams, which was super fun because I knew a lot of the athletes. And just did some freelance work, but always in the back of my mind, I knew I wanted to do like more animation stuff. I wanted to learn animation. I wanted to do more concept art and illustration. So through school at Cal Poly, I always took a lot of like illustration classes or fine art classes whenever I could. And so when I graduated from Cal Poly, I applied to grad school at the Academy of Art. And that's when I started studying visual development for animation. So there, I kind of learned all about the difference between concept art and actually animating, 2D animation, 3D animation, all that, and really decided background design for animation was what I really enjoyed. And so I kind of started focusing more on that. When I graduated from Academy of Art, I started doing more freelance jobs for a while, and then I got a job at a toy and publishing company in San Francisco. And that's where I started doing, it was kind of half and half, both my degrees. It was graphic design heavy and some illustration. So we did a lot of products like craft sets, like large sticker books and things with licensed products. So we worked with Disney products, Nickelodeon products, Hasbro products, all things like that. So that was a really cool experience because I got to work with a lot of big brands and things like that. And so from there, I love doing that stuff. That was a lot of fun, but it was very, like I said, very heavily graphic design and package design. And I still wanted to do more concept art and more, actually illustrating and drawing. So I started applying to new jobs. I was looking heavily at jobs down in LA for animation companies, background design positions specifically. And then I was like, well, I should probably check into some toy companies as well because I work at a toy company right now. and so that's when I saw the job for Mattel, and I realized like, oh wow, this is like an awesome job. It's basically concept art, but instead of becoming an animation, it's, you know, an actual physical toy, which is super cool. So I was lucky enough to get that job, and so moved down to LA. I was living in San Francisco prior to that, and now I'm working at Mattel, and I do toys for Jurassic World, as you mentioned. So dinosaurs have heavily surrounded my life right now, which is awesome. It's been a lot of fun, and that's where I am now.
Awesome. The first time that I found this concept, like I never really thought about it, that there is actually job for creating toys until very small. I remember I saw this movie with Tom Hanks where he was like a kid, and then he wishes to be an adult, and then he gets hired to be like to create toys, and it's like is that a job that exists? And then like pretty much made sense, and never thought about it first. But yeah, I thought like that will be like a really amazing job. But at the same time, I can see like, and even the movie touches these topics that for example, in the movie they touch the topic of, oh, if you're an adult and you're not thinking like a kid, you're not creating toys that are actually going to be interesting for kids to play with. And so yeah, I could see even at a very young age, I thought like it's be like really hard to like try to keep working on new concepts, on new. Obviously, I didn't articulate it as that, but like to create new things every day. So, what are the challenges that you're facing on that department?
Well, as you said, like it is hard to think of what kids would like versus what, you know, I would like or you would like maybe. So we do have kid testing and things like that, and we do go in. We're lucky enough that Mattel lets us go in and visit with kids at their homes and kind of see what type of things, what toys they really like and what other toys they're kind of not that interested in, and we kind of get to really get a feel of what the kid would want in a toy and what their dream toy would be. So it kind of keeps us grounded and keeps us from, you know, doing exactly what a kid would want and not so much what in my head is a cool idea, but maybe not to a kid. So.
The second time I found this, pretty much the same way I found you, was in CTNX, because we went at the event last year and we started like, pretty much it overwhelmed us completely the first time and for the first 2 days. And we were trying to take all that in, but it was just too much information. But yeah, I saw that some illustrators over there, like some artists, were working into toy design. And like, at least from the circles that I'm going through, like most people want to be like visual developers or character designers, but I don't see many people thinking in the way of, oh, I want to be a toy designer. And I thought maybe it's just like my circles, but if this is like a bigger issue, there might be some good opportunities over here that people are not looking out. Do you consider that to be true?
Yeah, definitely, because that was one thing I never really thought of doing toy design until I ended up at that other toy and publishing company. And I never realized how similar it is to concept art for animation or visual development, because we really are designing characters. They're just going to become action figures, and we instead of backgrounds, we're doing play sets. So it's all the same kind of stuff. We still need to do turnarounds. We still need to, you know, all that stuff is still there. It's very, very similar. Maybe you're not designing a prop that's going to be on screen in an animation, but you're actually designing a prop for an action figure, you know, things like that. So it overlaps a lot. I think I think people should know that toy design is an option if you did study animation or visual development, because like I said, I kind of stumbled upon it, and it was more through graphic design that I stumbled upon it in a weird way. But then I, looking into it more and more, realized like, oh, there's this other positions within toy companies that are, you know, essentially visual development jobs. So.
And this goes really close to even the animation movies and series. For example, one of our first interviews was with Adam Blaine Dix. At the time when we did this interview, he was working for Disney TV in a series called I think Sophia the First or something
Yeah, yeah.
something like that, which is pretty much at the end of everything. And even he mentions that like the whole purpose of this series is like pretty much try to bring the nostalgia of the other princesses, and at the end sell all those toys. Like the whole purpose of this series is pretty much sell toys to kids. And yeah, he also kind of mentioned is there that there was like huge departments like making all these kind of designs from all the princesses of Disney, and that pretty much that's bringing a lot of profit for Disney to in order to make other things on other movies. So this is something really important right now, because I think that like in a way with technology and everything, kids are going more towards having like a phone or a tablet, and it makes it even more important to make the toy interesting, or the kid will prefer the tablet over it, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely a thing that's come up a lot. Where, you know, I feel like all my friends that have kids or nephews and nieces, they say, well, do kids even play with toys anymore? They're so into their smartphone or their tablet. And that's definitely something we have to like face and think about for the future, and how we can get a kid to still want the toy, but maybe it has some kind of interactive feature or things like that where you can bring in the technology to get the kid to play with the toy even more. So that's always stuff we're thinking about. And there's integrating technology into toys too. We do electronic toys, all sorts of things where we're still trying to, you got to keep up with the tech. You can't fall behind. But then, we got to also do the toys that every kid grows up with and loves, maybe whether it's, their favorite plush toy, or if they just want to, have an action figure to play with, and, their favorite superhero or whatever it is. So I think it's important to have both.
Yeah. And what about, this is a conversation I saw the some entrepreneurs that I follow. It was about toys, but this guy was like he owned like a store online selling toys, and he was targeting his ads to the parents, because this idea was like, okay, like if the mom or the dad sees a toys that he thinks that his kid will like, then he will just buy it because he has the money, like he's the adult. But then another guy was like, no, you should be targeting the ads towards the kid, because the kid is the one that goes to the parent and says like, hey, I want this toy, like I really like this one. Right. So that was pretty much the debate that I saw right there, whether to target the kids and target the parents. Another came, it's like, why don't you do both? But how do you find that topic as well? Like, do you think as well as on the parents when trying to design the kids, the toys and the presentations?
That's a very good point. We've definitely had that conversation many times, and it's true. I mean, the mom, at the end of the day, the parents are buying it, so you do want to keep that in mind. But it also, when they have advertisements on TV or things like that, they're targeting the kid for the most part. If there's like on Disney Channel, they have a TV commercial about a toy, they're definitely targeting kids and hoping the kids will go tell mom, like, hey mom, I really want this toy. So we got to kind of think of both. And it's interesting with Jurassic, at least, because it's such a it goes so far back to Jurassic Park. So at least we have the parents that grew up with Jurassic Park that still love it, whereas the kids are growing up with Jurassic World. And we kind of have a little bit of an advantage if, they were parents as well as fan kids, then hopefully it'll work both ways. Maybe the mom will see it like her favorite character from, or her favorite dinosaur from growing up, and want to buy the kid the toy so that they have the same experience. Whereas the opposite would be the kid just seeing Jurassic World advertisements and wanting the toys themselves. So hopefully we can target both.
Yeah, right now I'm checking out. Seems that Jurassic Park came out in the '93, so it was like very small when that happened. Like I think I had like 8 years old. Now I'm feeling old talking about this, but yeah, like you mentioned, you have this opportunity in your case because this is like a perennial kind of title that has been alive for them like almost 30 years. so so I think but at the time when Jurassic Park came out, well, there wasn't the internet, and parents were more scared about the violence for the kids. I remember my mother being uh, didn't wanted to buy the Jurassic Park toys to me because she considered it too violent for the movie for me. Now I think it's like we've seen worse things, but yeah, I think that is an advantage that maybe your team has because like it's like I think like for example the Flintstones, like
Uh-huh.
all of our generations will know about it, but the kids from today like probably they have never seen an episode from it. But Jurassic Park is still alive, right?
Yeah.
So pretty much uh, when you started doing the toys design and you started working on this, I assume that you have other friends who are artists. Uh, were they interested in like exploring this career as well?
Um, I definitely, so I have a lot of friends in animation, and I feel like they're like, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. You guys work in animation. And they're like, oh my God, it's so cool. You work on toys. So I feel like there's a mutual like respect that like both of us have and admiration for both sides. But let's see, what was I going to say? They are interested in it, definitely. And I think one nice thing is a lot of my friends work in TV animation, whereas they're constantly networking and keeping in touch with people because if a show ends, the show ends, it's over, right? They have to find another show to work on. And so that's a pretty tough thing about animation, I think, is you kind of got to constantly be looking for jobs because you never know when the show might end. Some of my friends say that they think the toy industry is a lot more stable. I mean, that definitely depends. You never know, like, what could happen. But as far as, you still want to network always and keep in touch with your contacts. But I feel like animation is a little more fluid in the way that they kind of need to stay on their toes and look out for jobs a lot more just in case the show they're working on doesn't get picked up again for the next season. So
Yeah, and right now like things are changing a lot. For example, I saw early this year that Toys R Us pretty much filed for bankruptcy because they didn't believe on the strategy online too much, and that was a mistake. On the other hand, I see Amazon like pretty much taking over everything. Uh, is this topic that something that comes up as well in this industry, like where to focus the efforts, like still doing TV ads, still doing or like focusing more maybe on the internet, or trying to tar- uh, let's say collaborate more maybe with Amazon, eBay, and stuff like that, or is it still like some balance between the offline world and the online world?
I think it's still very much a balance. We definitely pay very close attention to the needs of the big stores like Toys R Us and Walmart and things like that, whilst also knowing that many people buy things online these days. So we got to make Amazon happy and work with them as well as our own online store. So yeah, I would say we try to keep up with everything and have both as far as what I know. And then as far as advertising goes, it's again for Jurassic, it's nice because we have our awesome partners at Universal, and so they can do a lot of that like advertising for us just for the next movie that's coming out. That alone will help us. So yeah.
Nice. And the cool thing that I think about you is that you're still doing your art on the side, right? You were just telling me before we started the interview that you were posting like a lot of illustrations about animals, and that you are are preparing your book to show it out in CTNX this year. Can you tell us more about, first, the work that you're doing and the book that you are going to show, and second, how do you deal with the balance of pretty much having this job that is very demanding and still doing the art that you love?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, I think it's always a good thing to have your own project on the side. I still like try to do a little bit of freelance here and there if I can, but yeah, having a demanding job, I think it's still good to have something on your side, and like to recognize what still makes you happy as far as drawing. You're staring at a computer screen all day drawing what you're kind of being told to draw, whereas there's something really nice about going home and just drawing on paper and doing whatever you want to draw. And I love drawing animals, which is, I think, one of the reasons I love working on Jurassic World. Is drawing dinosaurs is just as fun as drawing animals for me. So I've been lucky there that I get to do that kind of thing. But yeah, so I've been doing a lot of ink drawings lately, just because I think for me, one thing I've always liked to challenge myself. If I'm scared of something, I try to kind of do what I'm afraid of. When I was younger, I was kind of always worried about drawing people. I like drawing animals, like I said. And so when I knew I was afraid of drawing people, I forced myself to draw people all the time. So I was drawing a lot of portraits, and I kind of, was like, all right, I'm not scared of that anymore. I'll go on to the next thing. Well, recently, I think the thing I was scared of most was drawing in pen, not being able to erase. And so that was kind of why I was in a meeting one day just scribbling in my notebook, and I only had a pen. So I was like drawing, I think it was a peacock or something, and in the middle of a meeting, and I was like, I should do this more. Like, I shouldn't be so afraid of the blank page, because I feel like a lot of artists have those fears. And so, yeah, that was me trying to break my fear of drawing in pen. And so now it's no problem. I just been drawing in pen so much that I'm like, all right, if I make a mistake, I make a mistake. It's okay. It's not going to be the end of the world. It's just for fun. So that's kind of what I've been doing lately.
Nice. And can you choose the book that you are working on so the audience can see it?
Yeah, no problem. So this is the book. It's called Animals in Ink. Let's see if you can see. There we go. So that's one of my little elephant drawings, and they got a little girl on the back. So yeah, it's all highly realistic animals for the most part. But yeah, so I'm excited about that. To be showing it off at CTN. Very excited.
So pretty much you're going to be showing this work in CTNX next week, right?
Yes, yeah, we'll be there. I'll have prints, I'll have stickers, a couple other things, and that book as well as the book I had last year at CTN. So yeah.
And what stand are you going to be in? Can you tell us the number?
I think, and I might be able to look it up really quickly. I think it's T009, I believe, is the booth. I could be wrong. That's what I'm thinking at the top of my head right now. Yeah, I believe that's it. I'll double check and let you know as we're speaking. But yeah.
Awesome. And can you tell? This is a topic that I like to talk with everybody who has gone to CTNX, because pretty much going there blew our minds. Unluckily, we had some issues this year that we are still solving in our country, so we are not going to be able to go this year. But can you tell us about your experience going into these kind of events and how it has impacted your career?
Okay, so I found out my table. It's T006, not 9. And I'll be sharing it with my friend Logan. Logan Pearsall, he's also I believe you interviewed him already.
Yes.
Also an amazing artist. Anyway, but CTN, it's an amazing thing. I've been going, I think, 6 or 7 years now. At first I was, just an attendee. And I think it's super important to go to things like that, whether it's, if you're into animation, it's that, or Designer Con is coming up this weekend, I believe. But it's a great way to network, and as much as people say they don't like that word. I think it's really important. I mean, I've met so many people through the years of CTN, and just being there every year and reconnecting with them, you get to really know them, you know, and then they know your face, you know their face, and you become this recognizable person. And all of a sudden you're, you know, whether you have a job in the industry or not, you are a face that they recognize, and, you know, a friendly face, and they know, they'll get to know you, and they'll, you know, I think that's like one of the biggest things, is just becoming friends with people first, and then maybe later on down the line, maybe they'll help you in some way, or you can help them in some way. And I think that's kind of the biggest part of it, especially with animation, as I was saying before. If you're going from show to show and trying to, you know, move from, maybe, if, you know, if your show drops, get onto a new show, then it's those connections that are going to help you get the next job. It's the people you know, really. It's rare that you get a job without knowing someone that can help. You know, it happens too, but it's definitely the people you know that can help you. And I think going to conventions like CTN helps you make those connections.
Nice. And what will be like a list of your top 5 advice that you would like to give to people who are going for the first time to this kind of event?
Ooh. Okay. Don't be afraid to talk to people. I remember my first year, I'd like, you know, try to go up to the table, like, without drawing too much attention to myself, and just like grab a business card and look through their book without trying to say much. But talk to everyone, super friendly. Like, you don't need to be nervous. I definitely learned that over the years, and now being on the other side, we're having a table. You know, we're there to show our art, and it's, you know, it's great when someone will come up and talk to you. Like, that's the best part. So yeah, I would say, don't be afraid to talk to people. Just meet as many people as you can. If you've never gone before, trying to get into one of the panels is always a good idea, or trying to get a portfolio review. A lot of times you have to sign up early for those, but I know that if you get there early, and you know, if you wanted to interview with Nickelodeon or something, if you run over to their table early and sign up and just see if you can get on the list, it's possible sometimes. You know, it might not always be possible, but if you get there early and talk to the right people, you can try to make it work. And even people at the tables would, if you have a portfolio and you want to ask, you can ask them to look at it. Like, everyone's super friendly in the animation industry, and illustration industry. And I think, yeah, you got to kind of take advantage of that. So if you have anything to show, don't be afraid to show it, and ask for feedback, because people are willing to give it. Yeah. I don't know if that,
you know, that what you just say, like, is so true, that this industry is like so friendly and so good when it comes to the people in it. And it is weird because the people who are like in Latin America, who have never gone to this kind of event, in Latin America, like, art is still viewed as something that is not going to be stable, and that you're going to be the starving artist and all that, right? So we just went to an illustration event here in my country, and it was a small one compared to CTNX, of course. But there was this guy asking, like, about how to enter to work with these huge companies into the animation industry, because he didn't saw anybody. He thought it was impossible, and I was telling him, like, no, it's not. Like, I know many people who are working from their own homes with Disney and Pixar, and they are from the other side of the world. Like, some of them have never even put a foot inside the US. It's like, yeah, but nobody's doing here, like. And my answer was, like, because nobody is even asking. Like, nobody's even trying to send an email. Like, and if you saw, like, in the event, they had, like, the art gallery of all the people who are illustrators in this country and sent them. And I have talked with some of them who are, like, amazing artists, like, look, you are good enough to apply. Like, if you go to the website in Disney, they even have everything so you can integrate your LinkedIn like you can integrate your LinkedIn account to their jobs site, and they will even tell you like, okay, these jobs are the ones that are most similar to your curriculum. So it's like really easy, and nobody's even trying because they are afraid that somebody's going to say no.
Right.
And like the only reason why this show exists and that this is like the episode number 50 is because the animation industry is good. The people in it is really good. Like people say yes a lot of times.
Yeah, definitely. And you were just talking about some of the bigger studios, and I also think it's important to point out at CTN there's that going to events like that, you'll also realize that there's a lot of small studios that you've never heard of, and I think that's important too, especially as for beginning artists. Is, you know, there's all these companies you've never even heard of that maybe you can get a job there and then work your way up to a bigger company if that's what you want to do, or maybe you'll find out you love that smaller company where you can have multiple hats and do more. And yeah, that was I would say another piece of advice for CTN, because is checking out the smaller companies, because everybody knows Nickelodeon and Disney and Dreamworks, but not everybody knows the smaller ones that maybe they're looking for someone like you. And so it's good to talk to them as well.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is that I don't know, some of them have this kind of black and white kind of thinking, like, is this they or nothing? Is like Pixar or nothing?
Right.
But it's like most of them, especially here, like here a $600 per month salary is considered good. I mean, that's like $20 per day around that. And as you mentioned, like there are some smaller studios in CDNX, and they will pay them, even if they pay them $6 an hour or $5 an hour. That means that they did in 4 hours what they do in a whole day here. Like that's still a big improvement.
Right.
Like that's a huge improvement, and it's insane for me that people will not even try just because they have this fear that they will say no. And it's like, even if they say no, it's good because you can ask then, why not? Oh, you lack skills here. This is what you can improve. You can improve it and try again. And then maybe they say no again, but now you have more feedback and you can improve and try again. And maybe the fourth or fifth time you will get in, and it will be really worth it.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So true.
What will be your advice to people who are afraid to even try it?
Um, whew. Well, just don't be afraid to try, for one thing. I mean, you got to put yourself out there. Like people aren't going to know about you unless you show them. You know, you can't just expect them to find you. You definitely got to be proactive. And I know a lot of people are introverts and things like that, but you really got to kind of just put yourself out there and you know, do whatever you can to make friends with the people around you, just so that you can, you know, be recognized and show your art. If anything else, your art should hopefully speak for itself, and you'll start conversation that way and meet more and more people, and hopefully it'll become less frightening.
Do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
That's a good question. I feel like I'm pretty extroverted. It depends. If I feel like it's grown over time. Like I said in the beginning, when I first started going to CTN, I was definitely a little more nervous, and we kind of stuck to our group of people and that we knew, and like kind of traveled around the tables together and like started conversations that way. But as I've gone more and more and just gotten more comfortable speaking to people about what I do and what artwork they're doing, and it becomes easier over time. So it definitely grows, and yeah, I don't know. I think probably a little more extroverted than most, but yeah.
Nice. What was something that you didn't expect it at all in your career that has become true and is really important?
Okay, let's see. Something I didn't expect to come true. I guess when I started working at Mattel, I expected I'd be in a group. We have a pretty small team, so I knew I'd be working with them a lot, our team. What I didn't realize was how many other people within Mattel would be working with, and that I think is one of the coolest things about the job, is that we'll be making prototypes of toys, and I'll get to work with, you know, the sculptor. I'll get to work with a painter. I get to work with an electronics guy. I'll get to work with, if there's fabric in anything we're doing, we get to talk to, you know, go over to the Barbie side of the building and talk to some people in fabrics. And we have a ton of capabilities. We have an amazing model shop where they'll make a mechanism for us. And I would say, yeah, I didn't expect that we'd have the opportunity to work with so many people outside of like kind of what I do myself. And it's that collaboration that's really awesome. And you get to meet all these different amazing people. And in the end, all together, I can go from one side of the room to the other and get this prototype made that I would never be able to do by myself. But with me kind of designing what I want it to look like, then talking to the sculptors and maybe putting some sounds in it, then, you know, at the end of the day, we can have a model that's like a working model, and it's amazing. And so, yeah, I would say that was something I didn't realize we'd have the capability of. But I think the most important thing there is the collaboration and, you know, just making yourself known and talking to those people so that you have those connections when you're working on a product and you're like, I don't really know if this will work, but let me go talk to this person over here in the model shop and maybe they can help me figure it out. And then maybe this person in electronics can help me and this guy at the sound office can help me. So it's pretty amazing that, I mean, again, I feel like we're spoiled at Mattel because we have that capability, but that's probably the thing I would say I didn't expect, but it's important.
And on the other hand, what was something that you completely expected that became true and is important?
Drawing a lot, I would say. I definitely draw a lot at work, and I think off that, kind of what I was saying earlier, is I think it's so important to also draw outside of work and know recognize why you still are in this, so that, you know, it's not just work and I'm, you know, staring at a computer all day drawing for work, but kind of realizing why you're in it and why you love it so much. So like for me, it's the drawing the animals on the side is that just helps me realize why I love art. And so then I can go into work the next day and just start drawing those dinosaurs and find the love every day. You know, I get up and get excited about it. Do it again.
Nice. What is there about drawing animals that you love so much?
Probably I just grew up loving animals. Like I said, I'm an animal lover. I'm a dog lover. I just last week went with my friend to the LA Zoo and to sketch there. And I think it's that there's so many different unique varieties of animals and different. I love like this drawing the scales versus drawing hair versus drawing like a wrinkly elephant. There's so much variety, and I think that's one of the things I like the most, is that there's variety in size, scale, yeah, and all different shapes and sizes, really, and you kind of, and you got to know anatomy as well. Like that's another cool thing, and it's hard. It's not easy to do, but it's a good challenge, and it's fun.
Nice. And coming into the people who are starting out in art in this career, what are the most common mistakes you see people who are starting out doing that they are not aware that they are doing?
So that's a good question. Let's see. I would say from recent portfolios I've seen at different like for example, CTN last year. What I would say is a lot of people don't necessarily have a focus in their portfolio. Like they don't know if they want to be a character designer or a background designer or a prop designer or an animator, and they kind of have everything in their portfolio, and it becomes a very lengthy portfolio, and it also doesn't look like you really know what you want to do, because you probably don't. But I would say definitely tailoring your portfolio is really important. I know when I was applying to animation jobs, I had a separate portfolio for specifically background design, a separate portfolio for character design. It's a lot of work, and then I had a separate portfolio for toy design, because I was applying to all these different things, and you can use sometimes, you can overlap things, but for the most part, you want to show that this is what you want to do specifically, and you want the company to know right away when they're looking at your portfolio that this is what this person wants to do. It's very clear, and I think that's a mistake that some people. I even made that mistake in the beginning. Is I would have a love of like one of my character designs, and I'm like, oh, but I just want to put this in my portfolio. But like then I'd be showing a portfolio for a background position, and they'd be like, well, what do you want to do exactly? Like you kind of have a little bit of everything. And so you learn that over time, but that would be kind of what I've noticed. Is it's a common thing, because it's hard to let go of some of your favorite things, and you just gotta make your portfolio specific to what the job is. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that answers.
Yeah, definitely. I think that lack of clarity is something that happens to a lot of young people. I remember myself back in the day when I was like 22 or something like that, and I still felt like it was kind of a like life or death decision, that if I took like one wrong step, I would lose all these things in life, and now it's just like So it at least for the young people, I will say that as time passes on, it gets much more relaxed if you're doing things right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So pretty much, I have a really hard question that I like to ask. Probably you heard it in a couple of the past interviews. If you wake up tomorrow in a different dimension and nobody knows about you, but you have all your skills and all your experience, and you have $500 in your pocket, what will you do to get started and to get to this position in life, like professionally speaking, as soon as possible?
Okay. Let's see. I would first and foremost would be go meet people and network, because like I said earlier, that's the biggest thing, is knowing people. Listening to podcasts also is very helpful, and getting advice from whoever you know, and also again putting yourself out there. So going and telling your story and showing your work, and like that's basically how essentially networking with other people, and finding if I want to be a toy designer, I go find other toy designers. When I was looking at animation positions, I was listening to every animation podcast there was out there, and if there was someone who I admired their work, I would email them. There was a background designer, an amazing background designer, Pat Markinette. I had reached out to him after hearing him in a podcast, and I just emailed him, and I was like, I don't know if he'll respond, but why not? And I said, I really admire your work, and I asked him a couple questions, and then he was super nice, and he like looked at my website, gave me like a bunch of advice, and then when I was down in LA, I invited him to coffee, and I got lunch with him one day, and he like was so awesome. And like we said earlier, there's so many awesome people in the animation industry and in the toy industry as well. And if I wanted to get to where I am now, I think that was kind of what I did, was reach out to the people that are doing what I want to be doing. and become friends with them and learn from them and, you know, ask them for advice. And I think that, yeah, that would be what I would do.
Definitely. Also, what are your favorite podcasts in the animation world?
Definitely the Animation Network is a big one. And the Animated Journey. Those were two that I listened to a bunch. There's also the Ink and Paint Girls. They're great as well. And the Bancroft brothers have one. I'm trying to think what theirs is called. Can't think of it off the top of my head. But
I think that one is called the Animation Podcast.
Okay, there you go. That's probably. I think you're right. Yeah. So those four. I think that was four. Were ones that I would listen to all the time. I kind of wish there was a like toy design podcast. I think that'd be awesome. To interview different pieces of the toys. So toy industry, that'd be pretty neat. But yeah, it's awesome that those things are available and that they're out there, and they're definitely helpful. And you got to listen to that advice because these are people that have gone through it already, and you know, whether they're at where they like at their dream job or not, or wherever they're at, and I think they know what they're talking about and they can help, and they're willing to help, and you know, reaching out to them might be worth it because it might help you.
Nice. Is there any other resources online that you use in order to learn and to become better artist?
Yeah, definitely online. You said.
Yes.
Yeah, a couple of me and my coworkers were just looking at the Stan Winston School, and looking at some of the videos, and we were talking about trying to take a couple of the classes on there. But there's so many. Like Chris Oatley also has a podcast. He has so many awesome videos and tutorials and things. And like Brett Bean has some really awesome tutorials. I think that's right. But I mean, again, and I wouldn't have known these people unless I had gone to CTN, because that's where I've kind of learned about all those things. So there's definitely so many things out there that you can learn from. It's amazing. It's totally different now. I feel like you kind of had to go to school for animation before, whereas now there's so many things online that you can learn from the best of the best. And there's, you know, they have their own courses online and things like that. And you just got to know where to find them. And I think going to things like CTN can help that, and or listening to podcasts like this one, you can kind of learn about those things. So hopefully.
Yeah, I asked that question because right now I'm trying to focus this podcast mostly on the kind of the business skills for artists, and I definitely think that there are way more able people than me in order to create for podcasts who focus on the art side and how to become a better artist and how to have the right attitude about it. But I didn't find like this is something that so far through all the years I've seen that many people who are artists do not have these business or entrepreneurial kind of skills. Mm-hmm. And then I went to CTNX, and even then, like, I found, okay, like, yeah, most people here are too focused on drawing and doing art, but they don't have this kind of mindset for the strategy and business and how to sell themselves and how to market themselves. And ironically speaking, like, then you see all the, like, the biggest people and in the art world, and they are either, like, they took some time to learn the business skills and the marketing and entrepreneur skills, or they have somebody next to them like that they can consult, and this other person is like the business mind. Right. And that's the reason why they are doing what they're doing, because many of them, they even say, like, yeah, I'm not the best artist, there are many artists better than me, but what made the difference is that this understanding. How was it for you to try to learn these business skills?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard. But I would say seeking out books, seeking out, again, podcasts, things like that. I feel like if you really want that job, you got to do your research. And yeah, I would say, I mean, even before like my interview at Mattel, I mean, I was researching every interview question they could possibly be asking me. And I think I want to share this story because I feel like it was one of the reasons I got the job. Like just researching the right questions to ask yourself, and different, from any books or whatever. But one of the questions I found through my research was asking the interviewer what if they had any concerns about your qualifications for the job. And this basically puts you on the spot, but it gives you the chance to kind of defend yourself if there's anything they're doubting. And so at my Mattel interview, I had asked that question, and I remember they said, well, you have an awesome portfolio, like you can draw, we know that, but you don't have that many toy designs, because my old company, it was more craft sets and things like that. It wasn't action figures or anything of what I'm working on now. And I said, okay, like I would be happy to draw you some. And so that night, like I drew so many ideas. I like busted out as many toy designs as I could possibly think of. And I was like, I wanted that job so bad. And I wouldn't have had that opportunity had I not asked that question, and if I wouldn't have even known that they had that concern. And I think that not only showed that, I really wanted that job because I gave them those toy designs the next day. Like I emailed them like, here you go, here's my toy designs. So it showed that, I was putting my foot forward, but it also, made me be able to defend myself. Like I wouldn't have had that opportunity. And so that was all because I had researched a million questions and I was looking for different things I could ask them. Otherwise, I would have never asked that question. I would have never thought of that. And I think that's what helped me get the job for sure.
Definitely. And, I also went through, a couple of years ago, I went through the research to how to do like a good resume. And even the interview, the most common interview questions that there are. There was this question that most of the jobs ask, like, tell us something that you're not, like a defect of you or something that is not that good of you. Most people answer with the bullshit answer that, oh, I work too hard. And when you say that, like, they know that is not true. And doing like a kind of a research, they found like pretty much this study that most people hated that question. And was, well, if they know that the question is coming and that everybody is asking it, why are not they rehearsing their answer? Like, why are they not preparing for it? And yeah, it was pretty much even that simple. Like, that is kind of one simple entrepreneurial skill in your head that is very small, but it's really important. Like, if you know a problem is coming, and it's coming constantly, why are you not fixing that?
Right. Yeah, definitely.
So I think you had like a very natural kind of entrepreneurial spirit to come out with on that with your own.
Well, did a lot of research. Definitely got to do a lot of research. So it helps to prepare. So.
Yeah. Is there any advice you would like to give to artists that we haven't talked yet into this interview?
I would say keep drawing, keep doing what you love. Whatever it is, if you love drawing animals, keep doing it. It'll show in your portfolio what you love. I think I have a lot of friends that say like, oh, you clearly like drawing animals. And I think that, again, helped me get my job at Mattel because I'm drawing dinosaurs. And I think they saw that. But just, yeah, keep doing what you love, keep at it, and don't get discouraged if you don't, if you apply to a million jobs. It takes a lot of jobs to apply to before you get one, and it's frustrating, and you know you gotta just keep doing it, and you know keep trying, keep applying, but also you know keep seeking out advice and keep seeking out people that are doing what you want to do, because they'll help you get there. And as long as you're still, you know, you practice, and are putting yourself out there, I think everyone will hopefully get to what they want to do eventually.
Nice. Also, if people want to find you online, where would be the best place to do so?
Okay, a couple places. KristenSanzari.com is my website. And then Kristen Sanzari Design is my Instagram and Facebook. Then also I have a Twitter. It's just my name, Kristen Sanzari. But yeah, I post mostly on Instagram these days, a lot of drawings. So it's probably the best spot. So, yeah.
Nice. Thank you for being here and giving us your time and your knowledge. It's truly appreciated.
Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome. It's so wonderful.
Also, what was again the number for the table at CTNX?
Oh yeah, T006.
Okay, so T006. You know it. Look for Logan Pearson and Kristen Sanzari. Also, please say hi to Logan when you see him.
I will.
Tell him that I still love his art. Apparently, he still doesn't believe it.
That's funny. I will definitely tell him.
So thank you again for being here and being such an awesome guest.
Thank you. Have a good one.
So this has been the last interview of the Creative Hustler Show, number 50. So please, if you like the interview, please click the like button below and also share with your friends. Until next time.